Now we're joined by cross-cultural consultant Osnat Lautman. Thanks for being with us. Your perspective on this is very interesting. Look, talk about first about this, customer service aspect. This unfortunate national trait of Israel, is the way I'd put it, seems to stem from two major factors. There's cultural, and there's some structural things built into this in the marketplace. Look, to quote you, you've said retailers have to play it tough, but they get trampled. I mean, quote unquote, Israelis are extreme. The communication is very direct. We get into someone else's personal space. If you're being polite, you get passed over. So how does being Israeli, contribute to the or shape the customer experience in Israel?
Okay. So first of all, thanks for having me. And just saying, it's interesting what you just said as of customer service. But the question, first of all, is what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Meaning
age-old debate. Yes.
Exactly. Okay. Meaning is the Israeli customer service is poor, or the customer Israeli kind of...
So whose fault is it? Yeah.
Right, yes. He's a bit aggressive, demanding. Yes. Well, I don't have an answer for that. It's a tough question. It's happening on our daily basis. It's something that I feel personally. I can say that it's both.
Okay. Yeah.
I can share.
It's part of the story, right? There's an element
exactly.
here.
It's part of the story.
People relate to each other in a unique way here. No, I've often found it endearing. I mean, it's a small country, so that closeness. It's something you don't experience by and large in a place like the United States, a big country. People treat each other like they don't know each other, and not always for the good. Look, you also argue that there's something built in structurally here, that the supply chain just doesn't provide for incentive to really, treat the customer in a good way, or the fact that there's no consumer protection laws. Are these glaring issues in Israel that need to be fixed in a way?
Okay, so two things I can say about it. First of all, as a cross-cultural consultant. So you came from the States, but actually I had the pleasure of being in the States for about 4 years. And back then, it was more than a decade ago. I used to work in a global company, an American one, and study at NYU. And I started to realize that the cultural gap is bigger than I thought.
Yeah, it's enormous.
So, yep, it is. And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I started interviewing hundreds of people from all over the world and asked them, what is it for you? How is it for you working with Israelis? And then I came with kind of the main Israeli cultural characteristics. And I wrote a book about it.
I want to try that here, because your role is interesting. This is your book, Israeli Business Culture.
Absolutely, yes.
Definitely a fascinating aspect. And your role in general as a cross-cultural consultant, is this kind of, this research you're talking about propelled you into this?
Yes, so it's happened over there, and I started to realize, as I said, that it's bigger than I thought, and I came with an acronym using the word Israeli. That each letter is actually the beginning of one of the Israeli characteristics. So we have I, informal.
Okay, yeah.
S, straightforward.
Definitely.
And then R, risk-taking. A, ambitious. E, entrepreneurial. L, loud, for the intense life that you mentioned earlier. And the last I for improvisational. And each one of them is actually inseparable part of customer service, of everything that happens in our daily basis. So informal, kind of less of respecting others, right? Yeah. Straightforward, saying straight that something is wrong.
Which I appreciate much of the time, okay? You trust what people tell you, hey, they're not putting on a face for you. They're not, the white lies, like that kind of thing, it can be abrasive, but there's something I appreciate in the genuine nature of what people tell you. Strangers a lot of time.
A question, if you were a retailer, would you appreciate that people telling you, well, I don't like it, I want my money back, or things like that? There is a step when you say, well, it's too much, it's too aggressive. And again, for me, not as a cross-cultural consultant, but as an individual, as an Israeli, that trying to buy something in Israel, I'm not always as happy with it. So we have both aspects after that, appreciate that, but also some criticism.
Are things changing? Are some of these more like Western habits creeping in here? Is there a little bit more a different ethos seeping in perhaps from abroad? I don't know. I'm trying to be hopeful a little.
Yeah, that's nice. I like the approach. So, I provide a lot of cross-cultural communication training and workshop and one-on-one consulting, and I work a lot with the startup companies. And they opened, first of all, a branch in Israel, but from day one, they tried to be global. So they opened branches in different places around the globe. And then they understand that there is a need not only to translate the language, but also translate the culture. That, you know, in the US, poor customer service meaning no business, right?
You don't come back, right?
Absolutely. So Israelis understand that they need to put customer-centric into their kind of understanding that without that, you're not going to have a business.
Fascinating topic. It affects us all. It affects certainly anyone who's new in the culture here. This is, you know, something that often gets talked about, you know, in daily life here. So Osnat Lautman, thanks for being with us. Keep up the good work. Important realm. A lot of room for improvement in this cross-cultural realm. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, David.